Hello everyone. I can see there's a bunch of people in the chat already. That's really cool to see. Hello everyone. This is the first live stream, so thanks for joining in already. Who have we got over here then? Lewis is there, LT Custom Guitars, sending back some grain filler, but I'm here. Well, it's good to see you, Lewis. Lewis makes some fantastic guitars, so if you haven't checked out the last video I posted on the channel, actually, that's with Lewis, and we looked at one of his guitars that was made out of a combination of wood and resin, so that's a really cool cool guitar to watch. Peter from Sketty is in the house. Nice to see some locals here. The Last Grey Horse, of course, Last Grey Hawk, sorry. Of course, this starts when I'm about to leave for the luthier. Well, hopefully the luthier isn't going to be too much of an expensive job for you. Let me know if the sound's alright with you guys as well. Hello, Brian. Just relax and enjoy yourself. Well, hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well. Musician's Dessert, good to see you. Grumpy Vegan Grandad, how you doing, man? Good to see you. It's been a while. Mark G is here as well. Hello, everyone. So, yeah. So as I said on socials, there's not really a huge plan for where this live stream's going. This is sort of a bit of a test run, really, because from next week we're going to be doing more of these if you guys want that. But next week I'm going to be doing the prize draw for the 5,000 subscriber giveaway. So I thought, you know, it makes sense to test out all the live streaming stuff before we try and give some prizes away. So if you did, if any of you guys did enter that, good luck, because this time next week we'll be figuring out who's won that. I've got 1,500 entries to go through in the meantime, so wish me luck. There's a couple in there that are invalid, so I need to go through, make sure everyone's entries are correct and present, and then we can get the prizes out to you. Let me know in the chat if there's anything you guys want to talk about in this live stream. Like I said, we don't really have a big plan for this. We're just going to see where it goes, make sure everything works, make sure all the sound is good. Hey Jack Potato, hey Holzer, hey Alexis Guitars. Alexis, you messaged me on Instagram earlier saying you were coming along, so welcome. So yeah, it's gonna be fun giving away all the prizes next week. I'm looking forward to that. If anyone did enter, what prize are you hoping to come out and win? Mark is desperate to win the Harley Benton 35. That one right there. Those are fantastic guitars for the money. I think there are so many companies now that have kind of come out and they're able to make really, really good guitars for very little money. I think those things retail at like maybe like £250 in the UK, and it's really hard to beat at that price point. I think that yeah, they give most of the other brands a run for their money, especially considering how affordable and easy to get they are. Harley Benton are making some really, really cool stuff. So Mark is looking forward to hopefully winning the Harley Benton. Obviously there's 5 prizes, 5 different winners. We've got the Kali Audio LP6 studio monitors. Those are great monitors. I was using them for, you know, probably the best part of 6 months. So they're nicely bedded in now, because I've now got another set of Kali Audios here. So the ones that I'm giving away are actually my first set. Yeah, great speakers. I've worn them in nicely, so they're ready to go. We've got the Harley Benton, obviously, which is, this one is the same one, but the one the winner gets is going to get shipped straight from Thomann, so you're not going to get this exact one. Harley Benton will be shipping one direct to you wherever you are. There's an amp from Blackstar, which is the Fly 3. I'm not sure if we're going for any of the different colours, but whoever wins that will get one of those shipped to them. One of these, B-Tronics Vespa. This is a really cool octave fuzz. I've actually got another one here in a box ready to fly out to whoever wins that. And yes, and I'm giving away a subscription to my guitar course as well. So anyone who's looking to learn or take their guitar playing that little bit further, there's going to be some free lessons coming your way as well. So Jack Potato is hoping to win the speakers. Now, when I posted the 5k giveaway video, I did mention I'm kind of hoping, it's all down to chance. Obviously we're gonna draw at random, but I am hoping the speakers do go to someone fairly local, because they're going to be quite expensive to post. So I hope they're not going to have to travel too far, because they're pretty heavy. They cost me quite a lot of money to get over from America. Grumpy Vegan Grandad, can I win cash? Unfortunately, there's no cash on offer this time. in theory you could win a prize and then sell it. Can we get a closer look of the guitar? So would that be the Benton? If so, I will grab it. Okay. Might as well plug it in as well in case anyone wants to hear it. So yeah, this is the Harley Benton HB35 Plus. This is, yeah, I think these retail $250-ish in the UK. Someone could probably check Toman and get an exact price on that. It's a 335 style guitar, pretty lightweight. I can't remember the exact construction of it, but obviously there's a video on the channel where I go into it, you know, in great detail. It's slightly more versatile than a typical 335 because we've got coil splits on the pickups, those ones. The volume pots are both push-pull, and unusually for a semi, it's got the switch here as well, which is quite nice if you're a Les Paul player. I'm not sure if this is in tune though. I haven't played it for a couple of months, but it's a great guitar. Like I said, the Harley Benton stuff is really hard to beat for the price you're getting it for. Okay, I can see a lot of stuff going on over there. If I win, I'll save you some postage. That's true, Peter. Sketty's not that far away from here. The Last Grey Hawk would be happy winning the pedal. They're great pedals. B-Tronics make some really cool stuff. They kind of lull you into a false sense of security, because when you get a B-Tronics pedal, you kind of think that it's going to be something safe, and then there's always 10% extra at the top that is very much B-Tronics, where it goes a little bit crazy. The Vesper is really cool. The fuzz side, it's a 2-in-1 pedal. There's a regular fuzz and a octave fuzz in there. The regular fuzz kind of goes from sort of like a smooth fuzz facey kind of thing to like a glitchy, almost synthy sort of sound. And then the octave mode is just so much fun. It's all done with a really clever switching system as well. You do a couple of different sort of tap commands on the foot switch, and it switches between the different modes, and you can hold the switch to temporarily change mode and everything. Really cool pedal. And there's only 2 knobs on it, so even if you're a bit of a technophobe, it's really easy to dial in. What have we got over there? Grumpy Vegan Grandad wants to win some chocolate. Well, I wasn't planning on giving any chocolate away, but if your name comes up, I'm sure we can make an exception. Thank you in advance for your giveaway. You're very welcome. I hope you come out on top and win one of the prizes you're looking for. Musician's Dessert would be fine with the Harley Benton or the Black Star. Both are great. The Black Star amps are great. It's one of the little Fly 3s, which are really cool little practice amps. Alexis likes the look of the Vespa. Yeah, the Vespa is really fun. Is that a Classic 30 to your right? Yes, it is. PV Classic 30. That was one of the first, actually the first proper tube combo I bought a few years ago. It actually needs a service at the moment because it's one of the original ones from the 90s when they still made them in America. I think it's like mid 90s, and yeah, it's been used and abused so much that the master volume pot I think needs to be replaced, because it gets to like 3 and then it just cuts out until you turn it to 6, and then obviously it's too loud. So the sweet spot for volume just doesn't exist because, yeah, the pot is slowly dying. But yeah, it's a really good amp. I do need to get that fixed. Dude Fett, are you going to be at the guitar show in Birmingham? I'm hoping to be. I don't have any set plans at the moment, but if I can be, I will be. I'm just realizing that my chat box is slightly off the screen there, so I'm just going to shift that slightly. Let me know if it all looks okay on your end, or if it's still cutting any text off. Where else have we gone there? Where was I? Oh, Musician's Dessert also says the speakers, not gonna lie. Jose from hola from sunny 28-degree weather in Southern California. Well, in Swansea, in Wales where I am, it's currently cold, wet and windy. We've just had a weather warning for 90-mile-an-hour winds, so it's a world away from what you're experiencing there in Southern California. But I'm hoping to be in Southern California this June for the NAMM show, if all goes well. Ah, okay, so Star is in Aberdare, or Jacket Potato. So yeah, that's cool. That's nice and easy for me to ship the speakers if you come out on top there. Mark, that looks phenomenal. Yeah, I think you'd like this guitar, Mark. If you like semi-hollows, this is a really, really good guitar. It's really versatile, like I said. I'll give you a little taste. It's a little bit out of tune. I didn't do a great job tuning it then. The strings on, I could use a new set of strings on this thing. But let's give that a quick tune. The fact that it's got coil splits makes it that little bit more versatile as well, because you don't usually get coil splits on a semi. Yeah, sounds great. It's hard to believe that these are so affordable, to be honest with you. I was really surprised the first time I played one of these, because I'd always heard that the Benton stuff was pretty good value for money, but when I actually started trying some of the range out, yeah, it really blew me away. What else have we got there? Mark says, I watched your video the other day and I was inches from ordering one, but I paused in the hope I win. It is really cool. They come in some really cool colours as well, because they did all of these in your traditional colours, like your cherry red and whatnot. But then they came out with a plus range, which were in these sort of metallic colours. The one thing a lot of people didn't like about the plus range was the fact that the back is quite orange. I didn't like it at first, but when I saw it in person, I really grew to like it. And the neck has a really nice flame to it as well, which you can, I think you can just about see that on the camera there. There's a really nice flame to it. So yeah, these are fantastic for the money. Really great. And this comes in a bunch of different colours as well. I'm not sure, I'll have to check this, but if you wanted one, if you won and you wanted one in a different colour, I could probably ask for that to be arranged. We talked about it as the blue one because this is the one that I have, but you know, if you would prefer one of the other colours, let me know if you do win. David is here. Hey David, great stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you for publishing the new article as well, David. David is one of the guys over at ultimateguitar.com, and I had another article go live today about the Jimi Hendrix guitar style as well. So if any of you guys want to learn some Hendrixy tips and tricks, head over to ultimateguitar.com later on. There's a new lesson over there as well. Alexis, how are the tuners on the Harley Benton? Pretty stable, to be honest. They're non-branded ones, but I've not noticed any issues. I've not gigged this guitar. I've only used it at home, but yeah, I've not noticed that the tuners slip at all. They feel pretty good. I mean, obviously you could upgrade them if you wanted them to be even more stable, but these are pretty good for what they are. Sean Hockley, hey Sean, how are you doing? Carl Longbottom, have you had any experience with Firebird pickups? Do you know what, Carl? I haven't. I have a Firebird, but my Firebird has humbuckers, which is sort of sacrilege to the Firebird sound, really, isn't it? But the Firebird pickups, I guess, would be considered mini humbuckers, and a mini humbucker sort of sounds kind of like a P90, I guess, because it's a narrower field, so you get a little bit more attack out of the pickups. It's more towards the single coil sound, but it's still a humbucker. I hope that means you're going to be making a Firebird at some point. And obviously Carl is another great builder, so if you haven't checked out Carl Longbottom, he's another fantastic guitar builder. How does the Black Star sound? So the Black Star that's going to be up for grabs in the giveaway is one of the Fly 3 amps. I actually don't have one of those. It's probably the one thing in the Black Star range I haven't tried. But they're really, really good amps. I've heard them loads. They're really cool practice amps. They've got, I think they've got a built-in delay as well, so you can get some nice clean and drive sounds. And I think you can run them off batteries as well, so you can take them with you places, which is really cool. Philip Michael is here. Hey Phil, how are you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Rusty's here as well. Good to see you. I remember watching you in the first lockdown on the PMT live stream. Yeah, that was a while ago. That was hard to believe that was like 2 years ago now. Yeah, I haven't done one of those live streams in a while. We didn't stop them for any particular reason. We just sort of didn't carry them on for some reason, and I don't really know why. I think we just ran out of time, but maybe we'll end up doing them again at some point. Nicholas Marino, hey, congrats on the 5K. Thank you very much. Would love to see a review of the Harley Benton Fusion T someday. Yeah, the Fusion T is a really cool guitar. I've got the Fusion 3, which is the Super Strat style. The Fusion T does look great though. I should be doing something soon on the new T style they've got, the really affordable one with the roasted maple neck. I'm just waiting for one of those to arrive. But the Fusion T is definitely on my list of things I'd like to try as well. Adam Burst, good to see you here. Thank you very much for the kind words. Mark, heads up, it's my 41st birthday next Sunday. Is that a hint? Should we, are you looking for preferential treatment there, Mark? Peter, Swansea weather is like my underpants, cold, wet and windy. Yeah, it's really grim in Swansea right now. So anyone out there who is enjoying nice weather, we really envy you here in Swansea because it is miserable here right now. Stephen S, I will have to get that guitar on my next order. Yeah, they are really good. This is probably out of all the Harley Benton stuff that I've tried, I've not made videos on a ton of Harley Benton stuff, but I've tried a lot of them, especially at Henning's house in Germany. This is one that really kind of caught people's attention because I think this was sort of the turning point for the brand. This is when they started to make really good guitars for not a lot of money. And then the new Fusions, if anyone gets to try some of the new Fusion 3 stuff, those are just, yeah, those are even better again. The Fusion 3 I've actually taken out and done gigs with, and the last time I used it on a gig, I took the Fusion 3 and my PRS that's there, that red one, and the drummer that I was on the gig with actually said the Fusion 3 sounded better than the PRS. So anyone who's looking for a really super versatile Strat style guitar, the Harley Benton Fusion 3s are really hard to beat. The orange on the back of the Harley Benton somehow works. It kind of does, doesn't it? It's not a colour you usually pair with metallic blue, but somehow they kind of made it work, and I'm not really sure how, but yeah, they did. And I think this orange is the same on all of the Plus range, so if you get the pink one, the green one, and there's one other colour that I can't remember right now, I'm pretty sure they all have the orange back. In the photos it actually looked more of an amber, but in real life it's pretty orange, but it is quite a nice contrast, surprisingly. I didn't think I was going to like it. Crenar's in the house. Hey Crenar, how you doing? Congrats on the first live stream. Ditalica's here as well. I have a fly pair, pretty solid. Yeah, the fly is great. That's a really cool point about the fly as well. You can actually buy an extension cab for it too. So if you're using it and you want that little bit of extra kick or a bit of extra volume, you can actually buy like a sort of a second speaker. I can't remember the speaker size. I think it's like a 3-inch speaker, but the pair of them together sound absolutely massive. The Fly 3 is a great amp, and it's a battery amp, as Adam rightly said there. And also Dai has a Fly 3 as well. The Fly 3 clean sound is very reminiscent of a MOSFET amp. So there we go. I haven't actually tried one myself. I've just heard other people play them, and I've always liked the sound of them. So it's good to have some people in the chat who have tried one. Musicians Dessert, when are you going to announce the winners? So the next week it will be. Yeah, so it'll be probably this time next Wednesday. I'm probably going to keep this as a fairly regular slot. So really the giveaway ended today because I hit 5k this morning. But I need to go through, make sure all the entries are correct and everything is done and all the boxes are ticked, and then we can do the draw. So I've got like 1,500 entries to look at, so that's going to take me a couple of days. So yeah, that'll be probably next week. If it's not next week, it'll definitely be the week after, but I do really want it to be next week because, you know, we've hit the target now, so it's only fair we get to that point straight away. Mark, that's a big hint. I'll keep that in mind if you come up as a winner. The Last Grey Hawk has never tried a Harley Benton. So yeah, Harley Benton are a brand that a lot of people may be slightly cautious of, because they're, they are very affordable guitars, but anyone who's tried one will sort of vouch for the fact that they are great. Guitar Me says there, I have a Fusion 3, love it, it's my main guitar. Yeah, the Fusion 3's just incredible. Like, for the money, they sort of designed this Charvel style Super Strat, which I got in pink, obviously, because why not? Roasted maple neck, stainless steel frets, Wilkinson trem, it's got lock-in tuners, it's got a nice sort of neck, sort of chamfer there on the neck heel. Yeah, this is, honestly, this does not play like I think it's a €330 guitar. This does not play like a guitar of that price point. If I had a guitar like this when I started playing, it would be, my journey would have been so much easier, because when I started playing 20 something years ago, for £300 you did not get this. You got something that was, not even half as good as this. And anyone who's been playing a while will sort of remember the struggle of, getting relatively affordable guitars 20 years ago. It was a very hard thing. I'm just tangled up in some cables. Right. Hey Sarang, how you doing? Mark G, what are your two main gigging guitars at the moment? That's a good question. It depends on the gig. It flips between a few different guitars, actually, rather than two main ones. So for me, it would be a combination of a PRS that is on a lot of gigs I go to, because it's humbucker single, really versatile. I take that a lot. I also take my Schecter Nick Johnston, because you always need a Strat. This is one of my favourite Strat style guitars, because it does the vintage thing well, but I find that the modern spec sort of handles live work a little bit better. I have some older Strats, and this just kind of feels a bit more responsive for some of the gigs I do. So this one, and then I would usually take my Shergold Provocateur if I need something Les Paul-ish, or my Shergold Masquerader, which is that one there, which is kind of like a cross between a Telly and a Strat. So this is another guitar that sees a lot of gig use as well. So probably 4 main gigging guitars rather than 2. I keep running over my in-ear monitor cable. So yeah, I do flip my guitars up depending on what gig I'm playing and what the set list is. I've got some gigs this weekend that I need to take 3 different guitars for, because they're quite varied set lists. So yeah, it varies all the time for me. Lovely PRS S2 in the background. That is a really great guitar. The S2 series is really underrated, I think, because they're still American-made PRSs, but they just don't have all the extra bells and whistles that the sort of custom 22s or 24s have. And one of the big things that I've always kind of had a love-hate thing with PRS for is when you buy a PRS guitar, they look so good that you just don't want to take them out and, beat them up and throw them in the back of a van after a gig, because of they're essentially pieces of art. So the S2 series is great because it's just a stain finish, so you don't feel so bad about gigging it and kind of using it. So yeah, I think it's a nice compromise, because it plays and it sounds like the full thing, but just without all those overly fancy tops. Bazelle, there's a lot of lovely gear in that room. This room is the result of 20 years of a guitar addiction problem. There are far worse things to be addicted to, granted, but yeah, if you've got a gear problem, come talk to me, because I sympathise fully. Hey Chris, how you doing? Good to see you here. So will it be just Ian on the Cool Amp stand at the Birmingham show this year? If Ian is going, I believe he's got plans to go, and I think I probably will be there if he's there, but it's just a case of if everyone's schedules line, and you know what it's like at the moment. It's also, there's a little bit of uncertainty, will the show go ahead? If the show goes ahead, I'm 95% certain I'll be there in some capacity, because it's a great show and I like going there just to hang out with everyone anyway. Sometimes I wonder if we didn't play crappy guitars starting out, would we have the perspective to truly appreciate high-end or well-made guitars? That's a good question, Sarang. Because, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because if you start out with a great guitar that is fairly affordable, but it's still a great guitar, does that change your perspective then on when you get a really good guitar? Yeah, that's a really interesting talking point. What does everyone else think about that? Because when I started, my first guitar was, it was like a really cheap, I mean like everyone, it was a black Strat, really cheap. I can't even remember what brand it was. The action was about 3 inches tall. It sounded awful, but it you know, it is what it is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Does it change your appreciation of high-end guitars if you start with something really good? Darren O'Toole, I have got the Harley Benton Powerplant 12. Amazing value compared to the alternatives. The pedal boards are affordable options too. My first big pedal board was actually one of the, what do they call them? The Spaceship? Is that what they are? I think it was the Spaceship something XL I got. It's sort of the size of like a Pedal Train Classic or Classic 2. I can't remember the exact comparison, but it was a pretty big board. But that was a Harley Benton one. And I actually found that it actually had some things on it that were slightly better than the pedal trains, because you could move the middle two rails. So if you were using like smaller pedals in the middle of the board, you could actually bring the rails a little bit closer together. And if you were using something like a wah pedal, you could push them further apart. And you could also adjust the height of the board. So I thought that was a really cool thing. The only thing I didn't like about the Spaceship was when you press down on a pedal right in the middle of the board, because the entire board was balanced by 2 legs, one either side, the board would bend in the middle, and that always worried me a little bit. Whereas with the pedal train, you've got the solid rail all the way along. But other than that, the Harley Benton boards are fantastic. Love those Nick Johnstons. Those are great guitars, Mark. They're, I think they retail like 700-ish in the UK. And for a modern equivalent on the Strat, they're really hard to beat. They were probably the guitar that completely changed my mind about Schecter, because I always thought Schecter were metal guitars. You always think of them as pointy and, you know, sort of super shred machines. When I started doing some demos for Schecter, I started off with some of their Super Strat stuff, which was like humbuckers and Floyd Roses, but a little bit more 80s lean in, which started me thinking, you know, maybe there's some cool stuff here. And then when the Nick Johnston demo happened, yeah, it was just completely changed my mind, and I became a big fan of the brand from that point on. What is your by far favorite guitar? That is a really hard question, because I have guitars that I play all the time because I love the guitars, but I also have guitars that I don't play so much, but I love them because they're sentimental. So probably if I had to pick my favorite guitar, it would be a guitar that is right back in the corner over there, which you can't actually see right now, which is an old Epiphone Les Paul that I got in 2003. So I've had it a long time, and that was sort of the guitar that, it was my first serious guitar. I did all my early touring with that guitar. Every like project I was ever a part of, every band, every recording I did, that guitar was the go-to. It's, to this day, it's still my favorite Les Paul guitar. That out of everything I've played or owned, that is still the Les Paul that I always go back to. I don't play it as much as I should, but yeah, that's probably, if you know, if the room was on fire, that would be the guitar that I'd probably end up grabbing. RD amplification, you're getting brave. Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much. Why does this constitute getting brave? Is that because this is the first live stream, or just because you're here to abuse me? Which way is that going to go? Rusty, congrats on the 5k. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the support as well. Any guitars in the rack that you've rediscovered, or do they all get regular play? I'd like to say they all get regular play, but I am guilty of neglecting some of them. The ones I kind of neglect that I don't play as much are probably the ones in the back corner, because those are my older guitars that I've owned since I was a teenager, or just early 20s. When I was touring a lot, those were the kind of the guitars I was using. It's mostly Epiphone stuff, so there's a lot of Les Pauls, and there's like a Firebird over there. I've got my Tokai Telly, which sometimes comes out for videos. When I'm shooting videos, I tend to go for stuff in the middle rack, because this is sort of the current circulation of guitars that I'm using a lot. Probably the guitar I rediscover all the time is my Firebird. I don't pick it up enough or as much as I should, and every time I pick it up, it just, yeah, it blows my mind, and then I put it down for another 6 months for some reason. I really don't know why. I'm going to Nam this summer. I can drive you to Anaheim and we can get some great Mexican food. I've heard there's good Mexican food in California. You'll have to let me know if there's good vegan Mexican food though, but I'm sure there is, because California is a pretty healthy place at the moment, isn't it? Sean Hockley, your guitar playing at the BBG Fest was spot on. Henning was silly. Henning is always silly. Henning likes to play that character. I assume you watched the video where he destroyed the tremolo on that very expensive guitar. That was quite funny, and that was on a live stream as well. He actually destroyed that live. Henning was really good at the British Petite Guitar Festival. I always love hanging out with Henning anyway. He's he's a great guy. He's been a very big supporter since the very early stages, pretty much since I started the channel. Him and Andy Ferris have probably been the two kind of guys that have really gone out of their way to always help me. So yeah, I always have a lot of time for hanging out with Henning, and we had a great time at the British Petite Guitar Festival. Have a great rest of the stream, everyone. Thank you very much, Adam. And my Siri on my watch has decided to join in the stream as well. My whole house is filled with gear. It's a very recognizable problem. It is. It is. I think it should be seen as a proper addiction. I think guitar players, we do have a problem, I think. Leigh needs to break a couple of tremolo arms at the next British Petite Guitar Festival. Do you know, Lewis, I don't think I've ever broken a tremolo arm on a guitar. The only thing I've ever consistently broken is the pickup switch on Les Pauls, because on Les Paul guitars the pickup switch is on the top, and when I was younger I used to wear my guitar really low and play, like, I always talk about this in videos where I play really hard with my right hand, and just because I was hitting the guitar and it was so low, I would always essentially punch the pickup switch and snap it off. But I've never broken a tremolo yet, so there's still time. Maybe at the next British Petite Guitar Festival, if you bring a tremolo guitar, I'll see if I can break it. Philip Michael, hey Leigh, I want to start doing live streams but want the best sound. How do you get your live sounds for your live streams? Okay, so I'm glad it sounds good, because this is the first time I'm doing a live stream in this setup, so I'm glad that the sound is good. I am using a condenser microphone, which you can't see, but it's right here, which is a Rode NTG1, I think. That is covering my voice. My guitar is through the Line 6 Helix today, so it's just going direct into my audio interface, straight into a program called Streamlabs, which is what I'm streaming through. I could use real amps as well via my 2 notes captor without having any volume in the room, but today it's just all DI, so in the room it's completely silent other than the string noise of the guitar. But yeah, I think the real thing with live streams is making sure your voice is clear, so getting a good condenser mic will go a long way there. I keep scrolling too far on the chat. Okay, where were we? What was your first good guitar when learning? So that was the Les Paul that I mentioned. I suppose I should probably get it, shouldn't I? Because a few people have asked about it now. So excuse me for 1 second while I get it. Okay, so this is the guitar. This is the Les Paul. This was my first proper guitar. I went through a couple of different, you know, cheap and cheerful starter guitars. This was my first really decent guitar that I got. I got this in 2003. It's a 2003 model. I can't remember whether I got it at the tail end of 2002, because Epiphone always used to launch the new models just before the model year. So if it's an 03, I might have got this at the end of 02. So I would have been 14 at the time when I got this guitar. So I've had this guitar 20 years this year. You know, I said it's seen some action, and you can see it's nicely scuffed and beaten, and it's been through the wars. This guitar was actually this colour when I got it, but when I started gigging, probably 2005, that was before music venues had installed LED lighting. So when I started gigging, all the stage lights were the old, like the proper cans with real bulbs in, so the stages were very bright, very hot, and subsequently that's obviously changed the colour of the guitar because it was just constantly under hot lights. There's actually a couple of different layers to this colour. Hopefully that I can kind of get the angle right, where you can see that here it's slightly different again. So the guitar obviously had a scratch plate for a long time, and at one point the guitar was covered in stickers. So by the time I put the stickers on the guitar, the entire guitar had faded to this colour. Put some stickers on there, carried on gigging, and then the bits of the guitar that were visible faded to this colour. So when I took everything off, there's obviously 3 different colours to the guitar. But this is the original colour. I can't remember what they used to call it, but that's what it used to look like. It's had a refret, I think with some either stainless steel or titanium frets, because I literally played the old frets out. If you'd seen the frets on this thing before I had the refret, it was pretty much a fretless guitar, and I was terrified of getting it refretted because I thought it would change the way the guitar felt too much. Philip Michael, my first guitar was from Argos, a £30 classical guitar. A lot of people start with those, it's quite surprising. LT Customs, hey, your guitars were beautiful, my man. Yeah, Sean, Lewis makes some really great guitars, you should check his stuff out. The stuff he does with resin is really cool. It's very, very unique. I've never seen anyone use resin in that way. It weighs a lot, but it sounds great. So if you don't mind a good heavy guitar, it's really cool. The spaceship, yeah, I thought so, Darren. I thought it was the spaceship. Wow, what did you think of that Nick Huber Orca 59? The Orca 59 is probably one of the greatest guitars I've ever played. It's unrelentingly expensive. I think they're like 8 grand, but absolutely worth every penny. If I could have sold organs to own that guitar, I would have. And I just realized Mike from CGS is in the chat. Hey Mike. Mike would have probably played that same Orca 59 at Gear Street, and he can probably vouch for how good that thing was as well. Yeah, Nick Huber is the nicest guy as well. I actually did a funny video with Nick last year where we talked about the wood choices that he uses in his guitars. And there's a little bit of a weird twist to the video which involves Henning and Nick Huber's son in a hot tub. It's a strange video, you'd have to watch it to really understand it. But yeah, Nick is a really cool guy, and that Orca is just, yeah, it's something else. LT Custom Guitars, some great guitars of yours at BBG Fest. Yeah, everyone should check out Lewis's builds. He does some really cool stuff. And Lewis has said the original Schecters in the 80s were legit as well. Something to do with Tom Anderson at the time. Knopfler and Townsend played them. Yeah, Schecter actually started as a custom... Was it a custom shop or a repair shop? And they used to essentially build like kit guitars. They built a lot of early Super Strats, and the early Schecters can go for like silly money these days. But yeah, you're right in saying that. Knopfler and Townsend did play some of the early models. Schecter released a new line last year called the Van Nuys series, because the Van Nuys in California is where the original Schecter custom shop was, and the Van Nuys series it's Indonesian made, but it's sort of a tip of the hat to those original 80s Schecters. And I think, again, they retail at like £800. So yeah, they're fantastic. Hey Hannah, how's it going? Thank you very much. Congrats on the 5K and my first live stream. Bazelle, my first guitar was a Yamaha Pacifica. Played fine, the neck warped within 2 years. You must have played it a lot to get the neck to warp. I don't think I've ever had that problem before. And my chat keeps skipping down. CTFV, congratulations on the milestone. Keep it up. Good to hear Bluey's still #1. Well, Chris, as he's hidden away there as CT, me and Chris have been playing in bands together for, oh, we're going to show our age now, since about 2006 or 2007. Me and Chris have been playing in bands together for the best part of 20 years now, because, you know, we're that age. And he would have remembered this guitar when it was in its original state, when it was new, before all the abuse happened to it. And yeah, it's still #1 even after all this time. Henning is very strong. Henning is strong. Henning is the strongest person in the world, except for his mother. His mother's really strong. There's a video of her holding up a really heavy guitar over on Andy's YouTube channel. RD amplification. The guitar police have turned up. They're going to confiscate all your guitars and now you're banned from buying any more. They'll let you keep only one. Which one is it going to be? It would have to be this one for sentimental reasons. Purely because this is, out of all my guitars, this is the one that's sort of been around forever. I've had this since I was young. It's done everything with me. It's been everywhere. It's been broke. It's been fixed. It's been, you know, everything. So yeah, this would probably be the one that I'd have to keep if I was going to keep something. This, out of all the Les Paul style guitars I've played, and I know this is an Epiphone, and I know Epiphone is always a bit of a strong subject for some people, but I do think that this, for me, is just the one that plays the best. I've actually played much more expensive Les Pauls and liked them less than this guitar. Maybe I'm biased. Who else have we got in the chat then? Play some more for us. What do you want me to play? Throw some requests in there. I'll play or talk about anything. What's the cab next to the PV on your right? Looks very retro. That is a combo. That is a Selmer True Voice from 1959? 59? I can't remember. It's a really cool amp. I bought it on a whim from a friend. I don't really use it in videos much, but when I'm recording stuff with a real kind of retro bluesy sound, I always use that amp. And those are actually the amps that the Beatles used in the Hamburg Club days. Not that exact one, but that's the model they used. That one wasn't owned by one of the Beatles. What's your most valuable guitar? My most valuable guitar, if we're talking just sheer monetary value, probably my Vola Oz. I think these retail at like £1,600-ish, maybe a bit less. This is probably, if we're talking purely money, probably this. Obviously, value can be perceived in different ways. Looks like a Magnatone of some sort. Well, it kind of is. It's sort of the same ballpark. It's Magnatone, but this is a Selmer, but obviously same era of amps there. My mate got the exact same Epiphone Les Paul. Great guitar, much better than the newer models. Yeah, the newer ones, not good. I bought one of the, was it the 2019 range? When they did like a purple sunburst one, just because I love the colour. And it's a really bad guitar. I've been meaning to do some fret work on it for the last 2.5 years. And that's how little I sort of connect with the guitar, that I just sort of ignored it and didn't do the work. Hey CGS, just catching up with the comments now. Comments are moving faster than I can get through them. Lewis, yeah, I did. Mike, yeah, you did miss that. I did show Lewis the real Monterey Strat. It's this one. This is the Monterey Strat, I think. The Epiphone has a great finish and a cool story behind it. The finish used to be like a gloss finish as well. I've played it so much that it almost looks nitro now as well. That's how much abuse that guitar's had over the years. Andy is here, looking good, Mush. There's a bit of a Swansea reference there from Swansea's, Swansea's adopted son, Mr. Andy Ferris. How you doing, Andy? Good to see you here. You should take some song requests from your viewers. I don't know the YouTube rules around song covers anymore because they keep changing the rules about what people can and can't do on streams. But if I can get away with playing covers on streams, I don't see any reason why not. Everyone's flocking towards Andy. Now look at him, he just walks in here and steals all the comments. Typical Andy. I can't stay long, but I wanted to wish you well. Well, thank you for stopping by, Andy. It's good to see you. And Andy did actually message me the other day and said that he wants to be on a guest on the stream soon. So you can probably see Andy's face here very soon as well. It's been problem-free, can you believe that? It has been problem-free, yeah. I'm quite surprised, actually. Dr. Dan has chimed in there. Hiltrude was the real champion at 42 Gear Street, preparing waffles for everyone. She did a good job keeping everyone fed. Hiltrude is Henning's mother, for anyone who doesn't know that as well. And it's good to see Dan as well. Thanks for stopping by, Dan. I have a 94 Squire Strat that's been modded. I see how you see your Epiphone. Been with me from the start. Is that one of the old Korean Squire Strats? Or some of the old Indonesian or Japanese ones? Because some of those are great guitars. Squire are one of those companies that have quite a bad reputation, but they do actually make some great stuff, especially the older stuff, which some of it now sells for big bucks as well. Could you play any Gary Moore? I've had Still Got the Blues and Parisian Walkways in my head today. I can do a little rendition. Let's see what I can remember. Those are tracks that I learnt a long time ago, and annoyingly I just keep forgetting how to play them, but I will see what I can do. Let's just make sure this is in tune. We might as well play it on a Les Paul, seeing as that's what Gary Moore did. There we go. How's that? That's probably the first time I've played that lick in a long time. You've got a nice collection. Thank you very much, Burkey. Burkey. Did I say that right? Hey, Bam. How's it going? Good to see you here. CGS. Hey, Mike. Leigh has the black strat with a red strap in that rack behind him. Don't get him going now, because Mike will end up coming here to find the Monterey Strat. Going well, you can build on this. Well, thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, I'm hoping to keep these things going. Obviously, if people want to see specific things, like I've been posting on socials to say what kind of stuff do you want to see in the live streams, I definitely like to keep these things going semi-regular. So if that's what people are interested in, then let me know what sort of stuff you want to see going forward. And if there's anyone you want me to see get on as a guest, like Andy Ferris or Mike from CGS, if we can find the Monterey Strat on my channel, I'm more than happy to bring some of those characters on as well. Sarang, did you start out playing a Les Paul type? I wonder because I struggled getting into Les Paul guitars, and having started on Strat type guitars and eventually played Ibanez for many years. I actually started out on a Strat because that was just the starter guitar when I started playing. Then I got an Ibanez guitar, which is not here right now, which is like an SG type guitar. That was like my first not rubbish guitar, but then my first really good guitar was this thing. So I guess I did my main learning on a Les Paul. The Les Paul is where I kind of found what I really liked in a guitar, but then over the years I've actually gravitated away from Les Pauls. So actually now I rarely ever play Les Pauls. If I'm looking for humbuckers, I would rather play like a 335 or like a HSS Strat or something. But yeah, Les Pauls have always had a big connection with my early playing days. Bobcat Blues from a fellow Black Star Studio 10 6L6 lover. Well, thank you very much, Bobcat. The 6L6 Studio 10 is probably my favourite amp now. I remember the day that arrived, I literally plugged my guitar straight into it, sat on the floor and just played for about an hour with no pedals, nothing, just guitar straight into the amp, and yeah, just played. It's a fantastic amp. 10 watt, 2 channels, very simple, like volume, tone, gain, reverb. No fuss, just plug in, get a good sound. Really love that amp. It's probably used in about 90% of my videos now as well. What else have we got over here? I hated Les Pauls in the beginning, also started on Strat type guitars, now I love them all equally. I think that's it, Basil. I think it's just one of those things you kind of learn to, instead of gravitating towards one type of guitar, you kind of learn to appreciate different types of guitar for what they are. For me, I always started off playing rock, so my early kind of bands were all, you know, sort of like hard rock, 80s influence rock stuff. And then when I started to kind of gravitate more towards kind of more blues and rootsy kind of music, that's for me when things like Strats really became more of an obvious choice. I didn't really click with Strats too much in the early days because I just wanted that kind of big fat rock tone that you don't get from a Strat. And this guitar's got some dodgy wiring, hence the noise. It needs a bit of a rework. I think this is like 20 years of original wiring now, and it's had a good cane in. But yeah, I sort of gravitated away from Strats in the early days because they just didn't give me the sound I wanted. But then I kind of rediscovered them maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, and now I actually prefer them, I think. I thought the neck on most Les Pauls I tried were way too big to play properly. That's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like Les Pauls. This one doesn't have the biggest neck. This one is somewhere in between. But I do have other single cuts that do have really big necks, and I do personally like that. But I know a lot of players don't like a really fat neck on a guitar. That's more of a 50s Les Paul thing. And I think when Epiphone really kind of took off, they were doing more of the 60s kind of vibe. So it's a slightly slimmer neck profile, much easier for people who just prefer a smaller neck, but also it's easier to transition from a Strat to a Gibson style when it's a thinner neck, whereas the 50 style necks are a lot more to work with. Streaming covers is a bit touch and go. I know with Twitch streams you can't keep the stream up on the channel after you've ended, otherwise you get a copyright strike. Yeah, I don't know whether YouTube is kind of the same. I think it's, I mean, I've had videos that I've taught riffs in and they've not had any problems, but then I've had other videos where I've used especially when you use excerpts of a song. I did a video where I taught the John Mayer song Last Train Home, and I used part of the song in the video, and it's on my channel, but it was demonetized straight away. So I don't know how that appeals to streaming. I need to look into that because yeah, it's definitely a thing to look into. Love it when gear makes you forget time. I forget time all the time anyway, so I can never remember what day it is or what year it is, especially the last 2 years. I keep thinking 2020 was last year, and yeah, it's definitely not. Do you have an exercise to play on different neck shapes? I'm used to a D and struggle a little bit when playing on a U and older C necks. That is a good question. Whenever I try a new guitar, the first thing I always do to kind of get accustomed to the neck, I guess, is just play a few chords. So just start off playing some stuff that you're really familiar with, like some open chords, and then some bar chords. I always think bar chords are a really good test of like how a guitar feels with different neck shapes, because if you're playing a thinner neck, your thumb is a little bit closer to where you're barring, but obviously on a thicker neck your thumb's going to be a bit further back. So getting used to playing chords on a thicker neck is a good way to get used to it. And then just doing all the usual exercises help, like just playing scales, playing licks you already know. The thing that I feel the biggest difference with in my playing, because I play with my thumb over the top of the neck quite a lot, so when I'm doing string bends, my hand is in this position. So obviously on a thinner neck guitar, I kind of feel like there's more of a gap in my hand here behind the neck, and on a thicker neck guitar it kind of feels more full. So just playing stuff that you're really comfortable with, but just to get a feel for the neck is really useful. Obviously, the more you play different types of necks, the more then you can just flip between them quite easily. Now, I don't tend to think about it too much at all anymore, but I know what you mean, though. I did used to think about it a lot. I actually struggle now when the necks are too thin. So if I pick up a guitar with a really slim neck, I can't play anything. And I'm the same with action. If the action is too low, I'm gone. I can't play a guitar with really low action. Hey Anton, how are you doing? I started with a made in Japan Epiphone Les Paul Custom that wasn't light but sounded great. I used to think actually that heavier guitars sounded better. And I always, for years and years, just went with that whole kind of narrative that the heavier the guitar is, the more it resonates, the more it sustains. But then when you play certain guitars that are slightly lighter, like certain hollow bodies, or even just other guitars that just aren't as heavy as, you know, a Les Paul like custom, you do start to think then, oh, actually maybe the weight isn't the be all and end all. Maybe there's some other components to the tone here. But yeah, heavy guitars do sound good, but light guitars can also sound good. Mike is out here, gotta fly. Great looking stream, catch up soon. See you soon, Mike. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you, and obviously I will get you on here very soon, and we can talk about all sorts of stuff, whatever we want. 2021 didn't happen, and no one can prove it. I kind of agree with you, Chris. I think that even though last year was, for me, like personally, probably the busiest year I've ever had. From a work perspective, I was insanely busy last year with the channel, with my guitar course, with like traveling for gigs. The year didn't happen. It sort of felt like 2 weeks. I can still remember the sort of the start of all of this stuff, which was actually 2 years ago now. So yeah, 2021 didn't really happen, did it? It just sort of came and went. A lot of stuff happened in 2021, but at the same time, it felt like nothing happened at all. And my watch is now telling me there's some news that I need to look at, so let's ignore that. So yeah, very strange year. I'm the other way. I feel like lighter guitars sound better. I think it all depends on what you're looking for in a tone as well, because this guitar is really heavy, and I think it sounds great. It's got a really fat sound. But then, if you ignore the knackered electrics, but then something like the Vola, this guitar is crazy light. The body is, I was almost convinced that it was chambered, but I'm pretty sure it's not. It's just very, very light wood. But this guitar is light, but it sounds great. So yeah, I used to think heavier, and now I'm on the fence. I think I just look at it on a guitar by guitar case now. You know, if the guitar sounds good, it doesn't really matter what the weight is. But Zell, I prefer light guitars because they often give great feel playing, feedback to the player, not the amp. I think that makes me play better in the end. Yeah, I get that. You can kind of feel the guitar moving a little bit more, I guess. I always like to, whenever I pick up a guitar for the first time, I like to just play it not plugged in and just listen to how it sounds in the room. Because I think if you get a guitar that is not a great guitar, let's say we go to the shop and buy, you know, £150 starter guitar, and but you plug it into a great amp through some great pedals, you can pretty much get it to sound half decent. But if the guitar on its own doesn't sound good, that can tell you a lot. So whenever I get a new guitar, the first thing I always do is just play some chords without it even being plugged in, and just listen to how the wood kind of resonates, because then you kind of get a bit of an idea of what it's going to sound like when it's plugged in. Even light guitars can resonate, that's the thing. So I think if You know, the guitar could be really heavy, but it could be dead wood. The wood might not go anywhere, but it might still sound okay through an amp. So yeah, it's a strange subject, but I know what you mean. I think the lighter guitars are... I'm growing towards lighter guitars, I think. I keep changing my mind. Sometimes I pick up a guitar that's heavy and I think I love it, and then I play a gig and I realise I don't like it because I've just stood up for 2 hours with a guitar that weighs 4.5 kilos. How many guitars have you got? Anton, right, I'm going to make myself look a bit stupid now because I don't know the exact number. I think it's 48. I think. I'm not quite at 50, but I have more than I can remember. And I should know that number. I know that is it's bad. I should know. But somewhere around the top of the 40s. Exactly, I feel that it resonates a certain way, which gives it more airy feel. I sometimes feel that heavy guitars can make a note sound a bit dead. Yeah, that's sort of what I feel that some guitars surround. Certain guitars though, and this kind of loops back to something I mentioned earlier on in the stream, Lewis from LT Customs had that guitar that we did the video of, which is made from wood and resin is very dense. It's essentially solid plastic, and that guitar is really, really heavy, but it rings, and when you play it unplugged or when you plug it in, there's just a life to the notes. But then other guitars that weigh the same or heavier might not sound the same. So I think it is a subjective thing that changes from guitar to guitar. The Vola sounds amazing and looks incredible. Yeah, it's a really it's an eye-catching finish, isn't it? I have gigged this a few times, but I sometimes feel that the colours are a little bit extreme for some gigs, but I do really like it. And this is a great guitar. These guys are making some incredible instruments for, I mean, they're not cheap instruments. They're sort of, you know, £1,200–1,300 plus, but the attention to detail you get on these things is second to none, and they look cool as well. My ears prefer heavy guitars, my back prefers the lighter ones. Yeah, mine too. I kind of feel that with everything. I used to take a 100-watt Marshall valve head with a 4x12 cab to gigs, and now I take, you know, a Walrus ACS, because that's my amp now, because I can plug that straight into the PA system, and that is a Fender, a Vox, and a Marshall in a box, and I don't have to carry a 4x12 up a flight of stairs anymore. So yeah, my back prefers the lighter things as well. Agreed. I think how the strings resonate when it's not plugged in tells a lot. It really does, because that's essentially how acoustic guitars work. You know, when you play an acoustic guitar, you don't judge it by the plugged in sound, you judge it by the natural resonance. And I think we should do that with electric guitars as well. I think if the guitar rings and it sounds good on its own, that does tell you a lot. My back definitely likes the lighter guitars. Playing a 3-hour gig with a 4.5 kilo Les Paul was my worst decision ever. Yeah, I am with you. There's actually a really cool Les Paul that I came into possession of last year. Is this thing. This is by a company called Stanford Guitars, and this is a Les Paul that is actually semi-hollow. So it looks like a Les Paul, it kind of sounds like a Les Paul, it feels like a Les Paul, but it weighs a third of what a Les Paul should weigh. Huge neck though, like if you like those chunky 50s necks, it has that. The only thing that's different is it's a flat top, not a carved top like a regular Les Paul. And it has a really cool neck heel as well. But if you like Gibson style guitars and you like playing them stood up for 3 hours, I would sooner take this than a regular Les Paul these days. Simon Hall, number of owned guitars is one fewer than you need always. What would you buy next? Yeah, that's kind of my advice whenever people ask me about should I buy a guitar. And I always say to people, there's always room for one more. Because there is. You can always find room for another guitar. What would I buy next? My next guitar that I would be looking for would be a really good Telecaster, because I feel that I have a Telecaster which I like. It's a Tokai Tele, but I feel like I'm missing a really good Telecaster. It's a good guitar, but it's not a mind-blowing guitar. So I think that, yeah, I think a really good telly would be my next guitar purchase. The other thing I really want is a 1950s Les Paul Junior, but until I can find £8,000, I don't think I'll be getting one of those anytime soon. Do you play acoustic guitar as well? If not, what kept you so focused on electric guitars? I do dabble in acoustic. I don't play acoustic as much as I should, because I enjoy playing acoustic, but I really don't practice it as much as I should. Yeah, I do need to play more. At the moment, I kind of play acoustic more for work purposes. Like if I'm gigging, I might need to play some acoustic tracks, or you know, play an acoustic set with a band, or record an acoustic guitar piece. I don't tend to pick my acoustics up for pleasure, but I should. I just always seem to gravitate towards the electric. As to what kept me focused on electric guitar, that's just like my background came from like growing up with classic rock and blues. Electric guitar was always the sound. So when I was getting into music, that was just the thing that I heard. You know, you hear the sound of the electric guitar and you think, that's the sound that I'm chasing. So I think that's probably what kept me focused. What models do you use most on that pedal? Oops. I'm guessing you mean the ACS Sarang. The one I'm using the most at the moment is the Fullerton model, which is the Fender Bassman Deluxe Reverb. It's one of those two. And I'm using it with, I'm pretty sure, the 2-Rock cab that's built into there. I'm actually going to be shooting a video on this for the channel soon as well. I've been meaning to for ages, and I just haven't got around to it. I've used it in other videos, but I've not done a dedicated video. But for gigs, yeah, usually I'm sort of looking for something super clean. So usually the Fender style amp in this thing. I should look into wiring this for stereo more, because you can actually get different outputs. So you can actually send different cabs or different amps left and right on this thing as well. So that would be really cool for gigs, because you can kind of get a blend between amps then as well. Have you ever tried a solar guitar by Ola? Do you know what, Sean? I haven't. I've heard good things about them, predominantly good things. There's been a couple of things where people have had problems with the fretboards cracking, but on the whole I've heard good things about how they play, but I've not actually played one myself. Have you gotten into putting part casters together or refinishing guitars? Refinishing, no, I haven't done that. Part casters, I've not done a complete part caster where I've literally bought every component and put it together, but I would like to. And I think that might even be something I would probably do for a video, because I think that would be quite fun. I've upgraded other guitars, so I have like an old, not old, but I have a purple Squier Strat, which is a bullet Strat that I put new everything in. I basically bought hardware, pickups, everything for it that ended up costing more than the guitar. So I did that up, and that was fun. But I've not built one from scratch and put everything together. I mean, which one of the three? Oh, right. So yeah, I did get that right. So yeah, so it was the Fender one. And I can see you've got to go, so thanks for stopping by, and I will see you soon, Sarang. I have that exact same guitar on my lap now. It's a lot cheaper than a real Gibson. Yeah, these guys are just unbelievable. I have a couple of Stanfords, this and two of their 335 style, one of the 335s and one of the 330 styles. And yeah, these, I always tell people, are just, you know, if you want a Gibson style guitar but you don't want to spend $3,000 on a guitar that's not great, then spend less than a grand on a guitar that is really good, and you get one of these. They are really fantastic guitars. The George Harrison Telecaster looks nice. Oh, is that the new one? I saw some posts on that on Facebook and Instagram today, but I've not checked out the prices yet. I know they did like a really expensive version of the George Harrison Tele for a while, which was like 10 grand or something. I'm guessing the new one is probably more affordable. Josh Smith Ibanez Telecaster is great, but I prefer the more vintage style Tele. The Josh Smith Ibanez Telly is a really good guitar. I tried one out at Gear Street last year. Dan from Ibanez brought one along. I think it was the Josh Smith model. If not, it was the guitar that the Josh Smith model is sort of in the lineage of. And that, again, on the subject of weight, that was a super, super light guitar. Really, really great to play. Resonated well. I don't think I plugged it in. I just played it unplugged. And yeah, that was a really good guitar. It kind of feels slightly vintagey. Ibanez are doing a lot of stuff at the moment that isn't super shreddy. So some of the new, the AZ stuff, the AZ ES guitars especially, they don't feel like your typical super shredder Ibanez. They definitely have a bit more of a vintage vibe to them. The guitar looks amazing. Great sunburst. Yeah, this is a lovely sunburst on this. There's a slight 3D-ness to the flame. So when you look at it from different angles, the flame kind of comes alive. This is a fantastic guitar. I really, really like this. I actually didn't... I mentioned this guitar in a video at the start of the year where I talked about my favourite things that I tried or got last year. And this guitar was actually one of the things I mentioned, because when I first played one of these, I didn't love it. But when I actually got my hands on one and spent a lot of time with it, it just became like the go-to Les Paul. So yeah, this is, yeah, I can't say enough good things about Stamford. And the price they sell them for is unbelievable. Quicksilver's just made it as well. You did say you might be a bit late. You did say that, you did say. Did I miss anything? It was an Ibanez. Ah, there we go, there's Dan. It was an Ibanez AZS. The Josh Smith Flat 5.1 or Flat V1 is even more vintage with a V neck profile and his signature pickups. So there we go. So it wasn't quite the Josh Smith one that I tried. It was the guitar that it's sort of based on. But that was a great guitar. It didn't feel like what I think an Ibanez feels like, which is, you know, super thin neck, really sort of shred orientated. It's more vintage feeling, which for me, I'm more attracted to as a player, which is why I really liked the Ibanez AZES models, even though they were like, what were they, like £320? Great guitars. Ibanez really did a good job with those. I'm a big fan of the Paul Gilbert models as well, the Fireman ones, because they've just got like a huge neck on them, which is completely out of character for Ibanez, but I'm into that. Oops. Who do you think is the most underappreciated guitarist who doesn't get enough props? I love JD Simo. Check him out playing with Tommy Emmanuel. A lot of people tell me about JD, and I've not actually gotten around to properly checking his stuff out yet. But I keep meaning to. Who do I think is the most underappreciated guitar player? That's a tough question. A player that I really love, that I personally feel you don't hear enough people talking about, is probably Kenny Wayne Shepherd. If you're a fan of players like Stevie Ray Vaughan and that Texas blues thing, I think Kenny Wayne is a great modern version of that. He's obviously in the States he's really big, but I think in the UK he's not as well known as he should be. But yeah, I definitely think he's someone up there that would definitely be a guitar player that doesn't get enough attention. I think that if you like Texas blues, you should definitely check him out. And I just think a lot of the old blues guys in general don't really get enough kind of love and attention. I think there's so many great players that paved the way for the guitar heroes of today that people just don't talk about. Like Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy is one of the best and no one talks about the guy, unfortunately. I did swap out all the wiring and pots in the Stamford. It left me in the cold during a gig once and it stopped working. Really? Do you know what? I've not actually, I've not gigged this guitar yet. I've used it a lot in videos, but I haven't gigged it. So it's completely stock at the moment. In fact, I haven't even changed the strings on it since I got it. But I am planning on taking it out to a gig this weekend. So I will keep a watch on that, but hopefully it doesn't die on me because I've got quite a big show this weekend. So I hope it doesn't break. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Maxi G, oh, thank you very much for the donation, Max. That's very, very kind of you. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. LT Custom Guitars, got to run. Love the stream, good chatting. See you very soon, Lewis. Quicksilver, that Stanford headstock is very reminiscent of Maybach. Are they related by any chance? They are. So, Maybach guitars are a German company which are owned by a distributor called iMusic Network. I think I'm right in saying that. Or at least iMusic Network are the people who ship the guitars. Maybach guitars are the best Gibson guitars that aren't Gibson guitars. They sort of retail at the £2,000 mark. Absolutely mind-blowing. They're all handmade in the Czech Republic, I think I'm right in saying that. Stanford are a sort of sister company, I guess. So think of these as like the Epiphone to Maybach, except the price differences aren't night and day. The Maybachs are like £2,000 plus, and then the Stanford's retail from this being the cheapest one, which is like 900, up to the 335 star ones, which are like 1250, 1300. Like, they're still way cheaper than Gibson's. They're Chinese made, but they're very, very high quality. They're made by the same people who make B&G guitars. So if you've ever played a B&G import guitar, these are made by the same people. Incredible instruments. And yeah, like a less than a quarter of the price of a Gibson Les Paul. The pickups are really good recreations of a PAF. I don't know, they're not branded. They're made for Stanford. They wouldn't tell me who makes them, but I have it on good authority that they're made by a company who make other really well-known pickups, but that's all I know. But I don't know anything else about the pickups. But these are fantastic sounding PAF style pickups. So yeah, they are related to Maybach. Underrated, I think, immediately of Tom Scholz from Boston. Tom, I guess, is more known as a songwriter than a guitar player. I think you don't get people gravitate towards him as a guitar player. People tend to say Tom, the songwriter. Elliot Easton from the Cars, that's a good shout. Again, probably more known for being a songwriter than his guitar ability. The store where I bought my Stanford told me they're made in the same factory as Maybach. They're not, as far as I know, or from what I've been told. The Maybachs are all made in the Czech Republic, and the Stanfords are made in China. But obviously, you know, I mentioned that in my demo of this and the other two that I've done, and I know Henning has mentioned this a lot. Like, don't let that put you off whatsoever, because there's a big it's a topic we've all discussed at some point about Chinese guitars. Chinese guitars aren't what they used to be. They're no longer, you know, the cheapest stuff you can buy. There's some incredible stuff coming out of China these days. We did some Ibanez videos at Gear Street last year. Ibanez have got these new acoustics which have come out of China, and they're the best part of like 1700 euros. Amazing guitars. They're just as good as the, you know, the Japanese Ibanez stuff or the American stuff. I think the game has changed as far as where the guitars come from these days. So these are made in China, but they don't feel like they're made in China, and they don't sound like they're made in China. But the Maybachs are all handmade in the Czech Republic. Kenny Winshepard is a great songwriter, Chris, yeah. Kenny's really underrated as both a writer and a player. He definitely channels that Stevie Ray thing, but there's a lot of Hendrix in there as well. And Bobcat is with us on the Kenny choice. Have you ever tried the Harley Benton Tube 15? I haven't. I've heard it's not terrible, but I've not tried it myself. I know a few people in the YouTube world have quite liked it. The price is unbelievable. I was actually talking to, who was I talking to? Rob from RD Amplification, and was in the chat somewhere about that amp last week at the British Petite Guitar Festival, and I was showing him the price, and they retail at like, I'm sure it's less than like £200 or £205, and he couldn't believe There we go. He couldn't believe the the spec on it, considering that price. I mean, that's a crazy price for a tube amp. It's 12 AX7s, 2 EL84s. It's got a Celestion speaker. I mean, for that price, yeah, it's crazy. It probably sounds pretty decent. Like I said, I've not tried it myself, but other people seem to speak fairly favourably of it. Maybach are made in the old Czech Epiphone factory, halfway between Prague and Pilsen. I've been meaning to take a factory tour when the restrictions are lifted. Now that I didn't know. That's really interesting. Prague is a great place. I was in Prague 3 years ago. I went to see Buddy Guy in... Oh, there's a big theatre in the centre of Prague. Underground. Can't remember the name of it. But yeah, really cool place. Prague is probably one of my favourite places I've visited. It was a really, really nice place. And all the people are super friendly. So yeah, if I'm in Prague again soon, I will have to go and see that factory because that sounds really cool. Makes sense that Stanfords are not made in the same factory given the price. The store was close though. I bought my Stanford for 650 euros. That is a really good deal. These things do get some good B-sale offers. I've seen, or B-stock I should say. I've seen Thomann have some mega deals on these before as well. So yeah, they are really, really, really good guitars. Robin Trower inspires me to play whenever I hear his classic stuff. Also not spoken about enough. Yeah, Robin is one of those players that has kind of inspired everyone, but no one has spoken about him. I think he's one of those artists that guitar players love him, but he never pushed beyond that. I think there's probably a lot of guys like that though. I shouldn't call it the Epiphone factory. They used to make violins for a while, or making Epiphone guitars in the 90s. I didn't actually even know that there was any Epiphone guitars made in Europe. That's really interesting. Do you know anything about those? Are they any good? Because I know there's a lot of people who love. Me personally, I love the Korean Epiphones from the late 90s, early 2000s, and there's different factories that made Epiphone at different eras that are sort of seen differently by guitar players. Dude Fett, have you tried the Eastman SB59V or any Eastman guitars? I have played one Eastman, which was one of Henning's, and I can't remember which one it was, but I will try and find out. I think it was the Les Paul style. I can't remember their model numbers. For the purpose, my internet doesn't want to load that page right now. I'll keep trying. Yeah, I've played one of them, whichever one Henning used to own, and it was really good. I can't remember the model number though. But those are kind of the same vibe, Chinese made, but very, very high end. Not what you typically think of when you think of a Chinese guitar whatsoever. Yeah, they're just one of those companies that just doing incredible stuff. Again, for not a huge amount of money. I've played a HB Tube 15 and it was great for the price. You could tell the parts were cheap, but great for a first tube amp or a bedroom setup. That was kind of what I was wondering about that, like how it was going to actually feel as an amp. I sort of imagined that it would sound decent. It's a tube amp with a Celestion. You can't go too far wrong in terms of how it's going to sound. But yeah, the parts are a big thing. If you're going to be taking it out and gigging, you don't want it to be falling apart after a couple of days. This was the Eastman I played. Henning had one of these, and I can't remember which colour. I'm sure his was actually more of a red colour, but it was one of these. So the SB59, and you asked me about the SB59. So yeah, I have played one. I just didn't know the model number. So yeah, one of those. It was great, really nice. £1,800. It's a good price. They're all really well put together. Play great, sound great. I really like those. the junior style, but it's not letting me pick that one right now for some reason. Oh, that's the one Henning had. That exact one. So actually, I can answer your question. Yes, I've played the SB59V, and that one is actually slightly more expensive, and yes, I liked it. It was a good guitar. I only played it briefly, but I did like it. I really want one of those. I've got a very soft spot for a Les Paul Junior. Warren Haynes is an underrated guitar player, in my opinion. Brilliant singer, guitarist, and songwriter. Yeah, Warren is a great, like, sort of ferocious blues player. Got some great licks there. Another one to add to that list, I think. He's big in guitar circles, but not outside of that, is Derek Trucks. Again, slide playing. Absolutely incredible. And I'm a big fan of some of the modern slide guys like Ariel Posen and Joey Landreth as well. There's some great players out there that are not huge names. Let me know when you're around again. The club you're thinking of is the Jazz Club. No, it wasn't the Jazz Club. It was, is it the Lucerna? I might be wrong in saying that. It was just off the main square. Yes, the Lucerna Music Bar, I think. Yes, it was. It was, yeah, the Lucerna. That's where I saw Buddy Guy. It's where the main square that leads to the museum. I'm jogging my memory of Prague here. It was on one of the side streets there, but that was a really cool venue. You go down about 4 or 5 flights of stairs, and it's sort of this boiling hot little room in the basement. Government Mule are one of those bands I tell people about, as they tend to fly under the radar. They do, yeah. Government Mule, you don't hear enough about them. Anton, do you think amp sim pedals can replace tube and modelling amps? That is a good question. It depends on the use factor. I personally think, for me, I would always pick a tube amp if I have the option, because I just prefer the sound, or I prefer the feel of a tube amp. But a lot of the time these days, especially gigging musicians, we have to travel light. You always have to, you know, get in and out of venues with, you know, little space, or the load-ins are really awkward, and things like this make life so much easier. Like, this is a great amp in a box kind of thing, straight to the PA. A lot of the time we play gigs on in-ear monitors, so, you know, there's no need for stage volume. It's more of a feel thing. Sometimes if I'm playing a big show, I will take this, or like the Blue Guitar Amp 1, and use that straight into the PA, but I'll also split the signal and have a real amp on stage that isn't mic'd up. And then what I'll do then is I'll just take one in-ear out. So I've got the natural feel of the amp, but the front of house is controlled with like an amp in the box. I think they're getting close. Like, I'm playing through a Helix today, so all the sounds you've heard in the stream are my Helix. They're so close. The feel is like 95% of the way there. I think they can probably only get better, so maybe we'll see them replace proper amps, but I personally would choose a real amp if I had the choice. And even when I do videos, I would sooner choose to use one of my amps through the Captor X, so I'm at least still using the tube power and preamps through an IR. That to me is the best compromise between analog and digital. Good to have you, Buzzell. Thanks for sticking around, and hopefully see you on the next stream. Elhan, I really enjoyed your Schecter Nick Johnston review. I bought it shortly after. The craftsmanship is incredible for the price and sounds fantastic. It's, yeah, I honestly can't speak highly enough about the Nick Johnston stuff. That guitar, as I said, it's kind of my go-to Strat now. If I take a Strat to a gig, it's probably going to be this. I love the way it sounds. I was kind of tempted by the HSS one, but when I was actually arranging the demo with Schecter, they didn't have the HSS ones in stock, so they sent me that one, and I ended up liking that more. So yeah, it's really good. It's actually a Strat with a usable bridge pickup. You can use the bridge single coil, and it sounds really good. Studio Shamil is here. What is the vegan alternative for fish and fries? Well, first of all, Michelle, it's chips, not fries, as Henning will now agree, because we took Henning out for chips, not fries, when he came over to the UK 2 weeks ago. Vegan alternative for fish, we have loads. There's a couple of different vegan fish alternatives now. If you're ever in the UK, I will introduce you to some of them. Derek Trucks and the Landreth guys are so good, it's not fair. Yeah, I went through a phase where I was playing a lot of slide guitar, and I got to this point where I thought, I'm just starting to get this. And then I discovered Ariel Posen, and I thought, nope, nowhere close. So, and Derek Trucks especially. Derek Trucks makes me never want to play slide again because he is too good. Quicksilver, that's when class square. I think I'm saying that right. Yes, that's the Lucerna music. I thought it was the Lucerna. Always piping hot in those places. They never like to crack open a window. I think it was one of the hottest gigs I've ever been to. Buddy guy was amazing, but it was jam-packed in there. Unbelievably warm. So hot. But we went to Prague. Me and my fiance went to Prague in November. So it was winter. You guys hadn't had snow at that point, but it was freezing cold. And yeah, we came out after being in like the hottest club, and it was freezing cold outside. Thankfully, our apartment we were staying in was literally 2 minutes walk from the venue, so that was something though. But yeah, great venue, and I do love Prague. Michelle has unsubscribed. You were there too, Michelle. You know they're called chips. You enjoyed those chips with the rest of us as well. You've also been eyeballing the Schecter Nick Johnston also. They do make them for us lefties, so that's nice. However, I'm not sure about those fretboard markers. Do you know what? The fretboard markers aren't really an issue for the playing side of it. So I mean, if you're playing the guitar, they're not really that much of a problem because you don't tend to look down over the neck that way. The dots on the side are really easy to see. The only thing that I did find with this is when I make videos where I'm teaching something, either for my guitar course or for some of the other channels I do videos for, this guitar is not good for those kind of videos because it does have fretboard markers, as you can see, but they're little copper or brass inlays. So from this distance, you can't see them. From where I'm sat, I can see them fine, and I can also see the side dots are slightly larger. So when you're playing, it's easy enough to see what you're doing, but yeah, it doesn't really translate too well on video from the front perspective. And Anton agrees, yes, it was chips. It was. They were chips. We took Michelle and Henning for chips, not fries. Dude Fett, I know you're crazy busy with gigging and the old YouTube, but are you working on any original material? Not at the moment, but it's not off the table. My originals band, we did an album right before lockdown, and just as we were about to book a bunch of gigs to push the album, lockdown happened, and yeah, the whole thing kind of got put on the back burner. But it's never off the table. I do miss writing, and I would like to sit down and write some stuff soon as well. This year I'm making a bit more of a conscious effort to not be as busy with gigging, because last year was insane. I was doing like 4 or 5 shows a week all around the UK, and yeah, I was really tired. I think I did 2 years work in about 6 months. So this year I'm gonna try and be home a little bit more, spend more time making videos, doing live streams and this kind of stuff as well. As much as I love gigging, the driving is hard going. I think I drove from where I live in Swansea to Newcastle 3 times in 1 month. And for anyone in the UK that knows where Newcastle is, from where I am, that is an 8-hour drive. So I did that 3 times in 1 month for 3 separate gigs. So yeah, I want to do a bit less time on the road this year. I'll probably miss it by the summer, but at this point in time, I'm quite looking forward to just being home a little bit more and in the studio. It's also really hard to edit videos, and you know, when you're in a van for 8 hours. It's not the best environment to try and get everything done in. But yeah, cool. Well, we've been going for just over an hour and a half now, so I think I better let you guys get back to your evening. So thank you all for joining for the first stream. It's been fun. I know we didn't really have a plan set in stone. It was just sort of a, let's make sure everything works, let's hang out, let's chat, play a bit of guitar, whatever. But thank you all for sticking around, joining, getting involved. I'm going to be doing this next week, next Wednesday, for the 5k giveaway, where the Beatronics Vespa, the Harley Benton blue one back there, the Cali Audio LP6 speakers, the Black Star Fly 3, and my guitar course subscription will all be up for grabs. So the giveaway is now closed because the channel hit 5k this morning. So obviously a bunch of you guys I know already entered. So, you know, this time next week we'll be doing the draw. So good luck. And yeah, thank you guys as always. Thank you for the support, and thank you for helping the channel get to this point. I started it actually less than 2 years ago. So it was sort of the tail end of February last year. Oh, I did it again. Tail end of February 2020, not last year. I started doing the videos, and yeah, you guys have helped me get to this point in not that long. So thank you very much. Thanks for being around, hanging out, and getting involved. And I will see you guys next Wednesday at the same time. And as always, don't forget to check out all the other stuff. There's a bunch of other videos coming up this week as well. I've got a couple of new things in, ready for videos, a couple of things I've had for a while. So yeah, plenty of new stuff on the way as well. And yeah, thank you as always. I'll see you guys soon.